Hello internet, and today's going to be a little different. So Book Roast, her channel will be linked down below, last year did a top 7 for 7 days, and this year she invited other booktubers to join along with her, and I decided it would be a lot of fun. I love watching her channel, and I didn't quite know how I wanted to wrap up the end of the year with talking about some of my favorite books, and this seemed like the best way to talk about as many of them as I could. So for these top 7s, I'm only counting books that I read in 2017, and these are the ones that I had some sort of attachment to and liked that I would like to see. So the topic of this top 7 is going to be books that you would like to see turn into movies, and in my case, books that I would like to see turn into movies and or TV shows, because sometimes some books work better as TV shows, while some just need a movie. Book number 1, or at least book series number 1, is going to be the Dreadnots series by April Danius, and this is called Nemesis series. So the first book is Dreadnought, and the second book is Sovereign. I think this would do well as a series. It's a superhero book about a transgender girl. She ends up changing genders through the addition of a mantle, so she finally gets the body that she needs to feel comforted, and she also gets these awesome rad superpowers. And the first book focuses more on her being a transgender person and her having to deal with people around her. A lot of the emotional ideas that go along with that, with some kick-assery going on in the superhero field, while the second book has more of that action that you look for when you think of superheroes, with some like politics and villainy and stuff going on as well. I think this would be a good series, TV series, to show transgender people representation. So I think it would do well, especially if it had a first season focusing more on the concept of being a transgender person and how it feels, with the second series slowly building into being a superhero, and that how that feels more so than what you have to do when you deal with other people, just them disagreeing with your person, if that makes sense. So I would love to see this as a TV show, like a couple seasons across this whole series here. I think it would do really well. The second book that I have here I would also want to see as a TV show, and that is The Tiger's Daughter by K. Arsalan Rivera. This is a book that takes place in the Mongol Japan era, where before the Mongol Empire came to be, right? Before Genghis Khan. But we meet a girl who is the future chief of the Mongol people, and we meet a girl who is the future empress of a Japanese type people. They're fated to be together, and their fates are entwined. They end up becoming partners in battles, warriors alongside each other, and eventual lovers. And this is just a book going through their whole life story together, of how they came to the point they are, how they got their names, how they see the world, how the world reacts to them, culture clash, all that sort of stuff, and just their story together. I really loved it, and I would really like to see more pieces that have to do with ancient Asian countries outside of what we see from those countries themselves. Just make those more mainstream. I mean, I watch a lot of Chinese dramas, which usually have to do with history, and I watch a lot of Korean dramas, but like to see those kind of cultures and life stories more mainstream. So I'd like to see this as a TV show. I think it would be really beautiful to see the steeps, to see the palace on occasions, just to see these girls grow up, to see their battles, to see their fights. I think it would make a magnificent TV show, and it would be really atmospheric, as also while being really action filled and just like having romance. It would like have all the best parts that you need to make a TV show. Book number 3 is just this one book, and I would like to see this as a movie, and that is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I don't know how I would like to see this as a movie, as I know at the end of this book doesn't give you a conclusion, but it was far my favorite book in the duology. more so, I would like to see the Grisha verse come to life on the screen, and I would definitely like to see these characters, because I think this would have the easiest time adapting to a movie, because it has a lot of action to it, it has a lot of deviousness to it, and it would be really fun to see a heist movie set in a fantasy type world. So I think this would work really well as like a 2.5 hour movie. I'm not quite sure what the conclusion would be. Maybe it could be a movie and its sequel with the second book as well, but just like the whole concept of seeing these 6 crows, seeing their heist, I think that would be very visually pleasing to see that action come to life. It would be like high tense, high stakes as it is in the book, but this time you get to see it, and I think it would be a very fun, enjoyable time. Book number 4 is going to be Star-Touched Queen by Roshani Chowashki. I always butcher her name, and I'm always sorry for that. But this one is like a Hades and Persephone retelling. We meet a girl, and she is married off to this guy, and he's super mysterious, and she finds out there's some stuff going on. She has to get back her memories. She needs to find her lover again. Like all this sort of stuff going on, and it's based on East Indian folklore. It has a very East Indian atmosphere to it, and what I think this book was lacking as a book is that it comes across so much like a fairy tale, but a novelized version. So it doesn't take the time like novels tend to delve into the world, because it's too focused on being the fairy tale side of jumping from point A to point B to point C. So I think this would do a lot better as a movie, because it would allow that atmospheric nature, that world that we get hints and pieces of within this book, actually come to life around you. You get to see this magnificent place that she just mentions occasionally, and I think that would have added so much more to the story, to like see and explore this world that was so rich and beautiful that was around her. So I'd definitely like to see a movie in which I could see the visual interpretation of some of the beautiful descriptions given to the places that she visits in this book. Book number 4, I'm going to go with Frontlines by Michael Grant. This is a World War II retelling, but in this case, females are allowed to be drafted as well and allowed to volunteer, because they got equal rights for that a long time ago. Turns out you don't need a dick to die for your country. But this was a very fascinating read. So I liked its depiction of war where it didn't go soft on it. Like, these people got messed up in the head, and you could see how they were getting messed up in the head. It didn't go soft on the atrocities of war. It didn't go soft on the ideas that run around in your head when you're learning how to kill a guy, because that's your new job. And I liked how we see all these different women, and we see how each woman takes her situation in different hands. Like, they all react differently. I liked the honest depiction of sexism and racism going on during the past time and during the war, and how it didn't try to all of a sudden change all of that and be like, oh, these women are fighting, so obviously everyone's gonna treat them okay. But it was like a very honest depiction of what it would be like if women were allowed to join in the battle honestly during World War II, how it would affect them, how it would affect people around them, and how it would change the conversation of it not being a gender specific thing, that you have to be a certain gender to be a great soldier, right? So I really like this book. I think it would do well as a movie. World War II movies are fairly popular, so I think that this reinterpretation of World War II would still be respectful to the war and everything going on, but would add a new perspective into it that would be really fun to watch. I think it would go along the lines of those TV shows as like Cable Girls and Land Girls, I believe, or Bomb Girls and Land Girls. I'll see if I can find them and like put them over here so you kind of know what I'm talking about. But those two shows cover what women did during World War II. So to see them actually fight and have like a movie or show depicting them in the battle, I think that would actually come across as really, really good. I think it could work. Book number 6, I'm going to go with Vengeance Road by Aaron Bowman. I put this one on here because I really want to see it as a movie, but I'm not quite sure if it qualifies as 2017 because I think I may have read it at the end of 2016 and early 2017, but I'm going to count it anyway because I just think this would be a really legit movie. It is about a girl who witnesses her father being killed by a gang, so she's out for vengeance and she's trying to figure out why they killed her father. She wants to get them back. She's not going to let them get away with it, so she disguises herself like a man, of course. For part of this trip, she meets two men, brothers, and they end up going on this journey trying to figure out why her father was killed, everything going on, concentrations in the old Wild West. And I think that would just be like a really great movie to see with like a strong female lead in the Wild West. And I think it would just be like a really entertaining Western, and a Western that I'd actually appreciate and like to see. So, movie for this one, definitely. And book number 7 on my list is going to be Newt's Emerald by Garth Nix. Now, I constantly mention that the Victorian period is not one of my favorite periods to read about, and most pieces that take place at some historical part of history aren't things that I gravitate towards, but I did in fact like this book. So it is about a girl named Lady Truthful. She is the heir to her little mansion. She has a gem, an emerald, that is supposed to have some sort of magic, and it's stolen from her one day. So her job, and what she perceives as what she needs to do, is to get back this emerald, because not many people can know that it's missing, because, you know, greedy people and everything, and she's not quite sure who to ask for help. So she decides to disguise herself as a man periodically while she's in London for the ton and for her first coming out as a lady, and under her disguise as a man, she's going to search for her emerald. I think what I loved most about this book is the treatment of Lady Truthful and her just being a full on lady. She was very feminine, she was very humble, she was very much a lady-like creature, but she was just as stubborn, she was just as badass, she was super intelligent. She wasn't a fighter by any means, but she was determined. And I like seeing a female character who could still be very ladylike and not have to be overly masculine, but still be treated like an intelligent creature who could do intelligent things, who could be stubborn and save the day. So I loved that idea, and I think this would make like a really cute Victorian movie that you could go see and just see a female be feminine but not like overly feminine, and just kick butt and be intelligent, and just see, I think, a female that we don't see often on the screen because, like, you know, they have to have those stereotypes, but to see this kind of lady on the screen just being awesome, and I think that would be a really good movie. Those were my top 7 for books that I would like to see adapted in some form of visual entertainment. I'm not really much for adapting books to movies or TV. There are only a few books that I ever want to give that treatment myself, especially if I love them. But I think these ones would be hard pressed to screw up really badly, that it would betray the nature of the book whenever you're adapting it. So if you have any books that you would like to see turned to movies, or do you have any books that you wish movie goers had never touched in the first place, then comment down below and let me know. Please go watch Book Roast's video on this topic. If you like what you're seeing here and you want to see more, click all those buttonys down below, and goodbye, Internet.